I'm great, Mike. I'm doing fine. I'm on my way up to Foxborough.
Very good. Foxborough, the hotbed of football this weekend, if you are an Eagles fan, because realistically, Sal, this is it, right? This is their season. If they can somehow muster a way to go up there and surprise everybody, they're still alive. But if not, we're going to be talking about some gloom and doom next week.
It'll be the biggest upset of the year.
Is that the
without a doubt?
Is that what
biggest upset of the year? And I don't think they have it in them. I simply don't. I don't think they have the psychological makeup for it. I don't think they have the talent for it. I don't think they have the scheme for it. I don't think they have the coaches for it. Other than that, I think they'll be all right.
So they've hit pretty low here. They've hit some rock bottoms. What was the what? They played on Thanksgiving, and Chip sounded
that was disgraceful.
Yeah.
You and I talked the day before Thanksgiving last week. It was just disgraceful. It really was. It was shameful. Now, as a person who lives in this area and has followed this team for a quarter of a century, that's the lowest that I felt. You don't root for the team as a reporter, but you certainly don't want to be embarrassed, because when I travel around the country, I'm obviously equated with Philadelphia. People identify me with this team. And so you get question after question after question from people, and people laugh and they snicker. That's not how you want to be representing. And I don't think the team wants to represent like that either. Now, it's pretty clear that Kelly and Lurie talked, Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, and Chip Kelly. I don't know whether it was over the phone or whether it was one-on-one in person, but they did have a discussion. I know they talk, frequently, but from what I was told, the conversation was Jeffrey Lurie trying to figure out, okay, where is the team at and what's happening with this game against New England. I was told that it had nothing to do with whether Chip Kelly was interested in any college jobs or whether or not he was coming back next season. I was told that it was very small ballish.
Mm-hmm.
It was focused in on, okay, how can we fix this? Okay, how can we go to New England and have a much better showing?
Sal, you just said you're associated with this team. You've covered them for a long time. The end of the Andy era, this is on you, Jeffrey, people in the thing. Is it feeling like that? I mean, the way they played the last 2 weeks, has it had that feeling that this is now going to start going from Kelly to now Lurie?
Well, in my view, the way I view things, it's always been about Lurie. Lurie picked Kelly. It was Lurie and Howie Roseman who picked Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty clear, reading the tea leaves, that, Howie Roseman's got to be trying to find an exit from this franchise, whether it's joining his old mentor in Miami, Mike Tannenbaum, whether it's trying to get this job in Detroit as the GM there. But I think he's going to have a hard time, Mike. I think he's going to have a hard time translating any kind of success to another job somewhere else because, first of all you got to say the words is Marcus Smith. And then you hang Chip Kelly. The decision to hire Kelly was Roseman's. It was Roseman that went, it's the ultimate Godfather move for Chip Kelly to stab Howie Roseman in the back. Roseman was the guy who brought him here,
right?
Begged him to come here. And then Kelly turned it down, and Roseman went after him again, met with him personally. And it was Roseman who convinced Lurie to pay Chip Kelly all of that money. So I think it'll be very difficult if, in fact, Howie Roseman is trying to get another job somewhere else. I think it'll be tough for him to do so.
What about in his own building? What about in his own building? Can he say, hey, does Lurie consider taking the GM stripes away from Kelly if this continues to go bad? Does he have to do something? If he doesn't fire him, does he say, I got to take the GM away from you?
Or at least to ask him, hey, can I bring some help in for you? But I don't think it's going to be Howie Roseman. I think the bad blood there is too tough to overcome.
Between Kelly and Roseman, not between Lurie and Roseman.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, does Roseman go to Lurie and say, look, I got other opportunities? Now, he may not. Who knows? But if he says, look.
I don't think that he does right now, Mike,
no?
As far as I can tell, no. So I don't even want to play with that hypothetical.
All right, well, let's look at this then, because this team obviously moving forward has got a lot of question marks. And if Kelly's going to be the GM, where can, logistically, with what they have, can they start to fix this thing?
Well, Mike, I think you got to stop the bleeding first. You got to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. And I think, Kelly's loath to change. He's not going to change personnel. He hasn't benched anybody, which is shocking. You give up 90 points in 2 straight ball games. You don't bench a single defensive player. That's just crazy. But he's got to change. I think the 3 things that they absolutely must change right now, just to stop the bleeding. I'm talking about going from 45 to 14, 45 to 17, to a more respectable 30 to 24. Okay? That's what I would call stopping the bleeding. I didn't say go on a win streak. Don't misconstrue what I say. I'm just saying you can't give up 45 points a game. So how do you stop the bleeding? And I've talked to a number of people about this, people that I really respect. And the first overall thing that they say to me is you've got to play zone defense on the back end. You've got to play a modified cover 2. You've got to keep the opposition in front of you. Keep up giving up big play after big play. You have to force the opposition to go down the field, and then maybe they'll make a mistake. Turn these 3 and 4 play touchdown drives into 10 and 11 play drives, or just stop them. But you've got to keep it in front of you. Play zone. Stop this press man-to-man coverage. Number 2, they got to go heavy. Look at what the Washington Redskins. Did you watch the Washington Redskins-Giants game at all, or did you see any of it?
I watched the whole thing from start to finish.
Okay. What did the Washington Redskins do? They had 7 offensive linemen on the field. Mike, 7 offensive linemen on the field 46% of the time. The bomb to Deshaun Jackson, the guy who should be in an Eagles uniform, was with 7 offensive linemen on the field, a fake stretch run play to the left. Kirk Cousins rolls out slightly out of the pocket. There's a nice umbrella of cushion coverage of the defensive line so that he's got plenty of time. He waits and he waits, pulls the trigger, and it's nearly impossible to overthrow Deshaun Jackson, so he just lets it fly. Touchdown.
And we saw it so much here.
You have to go to 2 tight ends, max protect, throw the ball downfield, run the ball out of heavy packages. You got to do some of that stuff. I know they went to 2 tight end more this year, but they need to do it more and run out of it and throw out of it.
Yeah,
the quarterback.
They seem like they've gotten away from it.
And the third thing, Mike, real simple.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking for easy fixes so that they're not getting blown out. They got to huddle up.
Run the clock. Make these games shorter, especially this week. You're playing this New England team, which I thought it was funny the other day, Sal.
If they don't huddle up and they go 3 and out, I put Brady back on the field, I would fire Chip Kelly, honestly. And I'm not trying to be facetious or funny here. I would fire Kelly on the spot.
Wow. I'll tell you.
If you don't huddle up and you go 3 and out over and over again, and your offense is on the field 40 seconds, minute 20, minute 30, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and you're not scoring and you're putting a defense out there and Brady is just beating your brains out, that's malfeasance. I'd fire him.
Yeah, well, let me ask you then, is there a possibility that Lurie, a lot of people think, as you mentioned, he's very patient. He lets things kind of, give him one more shot. Do you think that he, at any point, if it gets that bad, would, in fact, fire him? Maybe not in season.
No, I don't. I think he's just patient to a fault. He always makes a decision 1 year too late, never 1 year too early.
Yeah.
People are always asking me, because people are really concerned about this team, and everywhere I go.
With good reason.
Yes. The guy who's my UPS driver is an Eagles fan. The guy who cuts my hair is an Eagles fan. The guy who cuts my lawn is an Eagles fan. The guy who delivers my mail is an Eagles fan. So I hear from fans all the time, well, I'm not watching the game. I turned them off, Sal. I'm not watching him. If he doesn't make a change, I've given up on this team. It's dire. It's totally dire out there.
I was asked a question on a radio show this morning, Sal.
And I've never seen it like this, Mike. Listen, I was at the end of the Coatside era, the end of the Buddy Ryan era, the end of the Ray Rhodes era, the end of the Andy Reid era. People are really sickened by what they see, and I'm not using that term lightly. They really are, in a way that I've never felt before. And I guess it's because, there was such a promise of major change and fulfillment, and it's just gone so sour so fast. And the other thing is that Kelly never has warmed up to the fans, whereas Andy Reid was the avuncular, likable, sort of, guy with a mustache. He played Santa Claus kind of like to the city. Ray Rhodes was he was the cantankerous, kind of funny, codgy old guy who's been around the league, and people liked Ray Rhodes. He was a likable guy. Coatside, nobody really loved the guy, but nobody really went out of their way to hate him.
Right.
And, of course, Buddy Ryan and Dick Vermeil were two most beloved coaches of our time. This guy never has warmed up to the fans. And when you don't have when you have political capital in the bank, if you're a corporate leader or a politician or a football coach, doesn't matter what walk of life you are as a leader, if you don't have that political capital built off your personality and the relationships that you have with your locker room, with your front office, or with your fans, people turn south on you quickly.
And this was a guy that was very popular and very well supported, and you're right, they have turned very quickly. Sal, what about if they?
Have you ever seen people turn this quickly on a head coach? I certainly have not.
No. And what if? Okay, let's assume they lose this week, and next week you're playing McCoy and the Bills, and that stadium is not full. Is that a sign to Laurie that he might have to act?
Let's take this week to week, Mike. Let's take this week to week. Let's see what happens this week. If the team is thoroughly embarrassed again, let's see what happens.
The Jenkins stuff this week, to your knowledge, is this something that's normal? Jenkins saying, look, we want to be held accountable?
Oh, my gosh, no, not normal. No, geez. I'm an old fart when it comes to covering teams. I've been around a long time, as you know, Mike. I've never had a player say that to me.
Unreal.
About a coach. Could you imagine? Now we're going up to New England, and I've covered Belichick since he started coaching the Cleveland Browns. My career is concurrent with his. Could you imagine a player criticizing the color of Bill Belichick's sweatshirt? No less his entire process and approach and technique.
And then having the coach say, well, I think he's wrong, because the player wants to have people have some accountability. It's almost bizarre that the player wants to have accountability held and the coach doesn't find that that's something that needs to be done.
No, but Mike, have you ever heard anybody just say anything about Belichick?
Oh, no, not at all. You never hear a peep up there about anything outside of that locker room, and that's what makes them so amazing up there. Here it happens on a weekly occurrence, it seems like.
When Wes Welker, I think something happened with Wes Welker, and he was benched.
That's right.
Almost, what was that? I don't recall, but it was sort of a sideways, snidey remark that rubbed the team the wrong way, and it was very obtuse. It was a bank shot of a remark. It wasn't even a direct hit. And the guy wound up being benched.
Yeah, and then gone.
And yeah.
Sal Paolantonio, everybody. Sal Pal Fridays. He's heading to Foxborough for the Eagles. Really, their last breath right here. We'll see what this team's made of. I think it's an interesting, even if they don't win the game, see what they're made of.
That's a good way of putting it, Mike. Let's see what they're made of as players and professionals. Because, I never, ever question a player's heart. I never, ever question a player's effort.
Right, exactly.
Never. I would never do that. I'm not a former professional athlete. That's for those guys to say that. I would never do that. I would never question the makeup of a player.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about the team itself.
Correct.
As an entity. Here's what Chip Kelly did on Tuesday. He got in front of the room and said, according to Connor Barwin, and I quoted him on SportsCenter, because I covered the team on Tuesday. Connor Barwin told me that Chip Kelly got in front of the room and said, I still believe in this team, in you players. I still believe in you. Okay? Let's see how they respond to that message.
No doubt. It's this Sunday. You can hear the game right here on 97.3. Sal and I will reconvene next Wednesday at 3:05. I am off next Friday, so Sal has been kind enough to move to Wednesday. All right, bud. We'll talk next week. Enjoy Foxborough.
Okay, Mike Gill. Take it easy, buddy.